Today is Sunday, March 22nd, and futures and Forex open tonight. This is what I want to talk about in this video. Welcome everybody to the channel. My name is Mal. If you're new here, I am a trader. I'm also an investor, and I've been trading for a few years now. If you are returning, welcome back. It's good to have you. The community's been growing quite nicely. And today I wanted to talk about futures. Right now, it's 11 a.m. on Sunday, 3/22. The market actually opens tonight if you're trading futures or if you're trading Forex. Market opens tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern. So for those of us that work full-time, myself included, I like to trade on Sunday nights and also when I get home. I do take days off to stay home and trade some stocks, and those are usually good days for me. But for right now, I have some hashtag life goals, and so I keep working even though I trade. All right, so let me get my drawing tools and we'll get into this. Okay. So on the left side of the screen, I'm looking at the micro S&P mini. 5-minute chart on the left-hand side and 1-minute chart on the right-hand side. I typically look at the 5-minute and I trade off the 1-minute. So what do I have going on here? Right now, what I have is this white dotted line here, and here is the VWAP. VWAP stands for volume weighted average price. And a lot of times we find reactions off those levels. I also use pivot points. This is the pivot point, the purple here. Green is S1. This orange line here is R1. And if we were to scrunch the chart up, we have R1, R2, and R3. Okay, same thing here, the green. And by the way, I have the crosshairs synchronized on both sides of the screen, so it's a lot easier to follow. So if I'm looking at something on the right-hand side of the screen over here, or if I see a candle, nice candle setup, a rejection candle or an engulfing candle on the right-hand side on the 5-minute, I can always go to the 1-minute and I know exactly where I am. Okay, so that's what that is. So the green circles, the green circular lines here are support 1, support 2, and support 3. And if I was to blow this up a little bit, you can see that these areas, price reacts a lot off these areas. So all I did was I drew my support and resistance lines. This white line here, the white line is off the 5 or the 15-minute time. And the cranberry colored lines, those are my 4-hour resistance lines. That's all I did. So if we were to compress this, you can see the white line reacts right here. We have a reaction there, we have a reaction there, so I draw an area of support. And then of course we have this one, which is very, very obvious. And it just happens to be around the S1 pivot point. So if you're looking to start using pivot points, you can come right up here to the studies. Click the studies if you're using Think or Swim. I use Think or Swim for the time being. And then all you do is just type in pivot. And this is the one that I use. You can see it here. So all you do is just add selected. I don't need two of them, so I'm going to get rid of this one. But all you do is add selected, and then you can go to this cogwheel here, and everything is basically the same. I have R3, and then this will show it and uncheck it. R2, R1, these are my resistance levels. Pivot point, that's kind of like the neutral center spot. And then we have support, support, and support. All right. So that's all you do. So once you do that, you will get, if we go to this side of the screen here, once you do that, you will get these pink and red or orange for resistance. And you'll get 1, 2, and 3. The other lines I plotted myself. So what I typically do, oh, and by the way, I drew some boxes as well. So all I did was I went to the drawing tools right down here. Let me put a square box right down here. And I go to my drawing tools and I get my rectangle, and then I just draw a rectangle however big or small I want. And then I can just edit it. So I already have one there, but if I wanted to, I can put this one here. Of course, I don't have a level down here because price was way up top. So there's really no reason to draw a area of support here. And if you don't know, support and resistance are areas, not lines. So it's a good idea to get into a habit of drawing an area. So I draw a box. And you can tell if we look at it, you can tell we reacted here. If I were to stretch this box out, we reacted here. We reacted here, blew through it, and then we came back down to retest it. So here is kind of what we have. We came up, blew through that, came back down to retest it, and then double top, triple topped up here, ripped through it, and then we came back to retest it again. So this is a level of support and resistance. All right, so same thing here. We reacted here, chopped around a bunch here, reacted here, reacted right there. So this is a good area. And then now we're down to S1. So if I'm looking to trade tonight, what do I typically look for? All right. Usually what I'll do is I'll just go through and delete these boxes. So now I got my VWAP and I got my pivot points. Everything else is pretty much clean. All right. If I zoom in on this side here, it's a little hard to see because that's where price is, but there is a yellow dotted line. You can see it on this side, and this represents the close of the previous day. So Friday, this is where we closed. That's always going to stay there, just like this one here. So that's a good indication. A lot of times, if we break through previous day close, we're bullish, and then if we break below it, then we can expect some kind of a bearish momentum. So now that we're here, we're on Sunday and we're here. So I got my purple pivot point. Then I have my R1, R2, R3. These lines we can just delete. I'll go through and plot them again. All right. So this is pretty much clean. And we'll delete this one. And then we got S1, S2, and S3. So let's draw out our zones to get ready for trading today. So what I like to do is I like to pick the most obvious areas first. I'll scrunch my chart up, go down here to the tools, grab my price level, and these two areas, I like to plot areas near support and resistance. So these two areas here, this is very obvious, and this bottom one is very obvious. We're actually sitting there. So for me, this would be a zone right here, and we're going to open up right into that. Also, we have previous day's close, which would be Friday. So when we open, we're going to chop around a little bit and see if we're bullish or we're bearish. The other thing I like to do is get at least one resistance level and at least one support level. So on the 5-minute chart, there's a lot going on here. What you can do to get some more clarity, go up to the 15-minute. Markets have been extremely choppy, so it's been very difficult to draw support and resistance just because of the choppiness. But one level that sticks out at me is right here. There's a top and tail here, top and tail here. We kind of broke through it. So I would say this would be an area somewhere from here to this point here somewhere. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky because usually when I draw my areas, I like to draw them near resistance. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to have an area that's this big. And you can see when I draw on the 5-minute or on the left-hand side, we also get the same thing on the right-hand side. So if I don't want to have an area that's that big, I will leave my two lines because I know that's an area of resistance. What I'll do is I'll just make this a little bit smaller. And then I know that this is my R1 pivot point. So if price does come up, and if you look on this screen here, if price does come up to here, I know that I have a whole lot of resistance here. So I'm not looking to buy into anything because most likely it'll start doing this and then we'll get some kind of a rejection. And if we have enough buyers, we might break through eventually, but I know it gets really, really choppy around those areas. And then I'll do the same thing on this side here. And I find that it's a lot easier to draw these lines on higher time frames. If the 15-minute is too choppy, I'll go up to an hour or the 4-hour chart, and I'll kind of scrunch it. And let's see. So now it's a little bit more clear because if you look, we have bottom and tail here. We have a bottom and tail here. So those two lines are correct as far as I'm concerned. We have a bunch of top and tails right here. So this line is correct as well. So I would expect this whole area to be resistance. Now we don't have anything down here. So we can either wait for price to get down here before we draw our level of support, or we can go to a higher time frame. And let's go to the 4-hour, see if we have anything there. And if we don't, now this is on the micro, there's not really a whole lot of data here. We can always go to the regular E-mini and we can plot support and resistance there. So if we don't have anything, what we can do is just draw a box and just kind of as a reminder that, hey, this is a area of support, and then we can see how price reacts. All right, let's go back to the 5-minute. So this is kind of what I do is I build out my zones. Also, see these two levels? You can see this yellow line was the close of Thursday, right? This was previous day's close on Friday. So the day previous to Friday being Thursday, you could see price reacted here. So what I would do is there's these tails, top and tails, bottom and tails. I would draw a level right here, which falls right on the pivot point. I would also draw another one somewhere around here. So I know that this would be an area of support and resistance. It's kind of a battle zone to see if we have more sellers or more buyers coming into the market. And so when we open tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern time, if we come up into this area, I'm also watching. I have some moving averages which are not displayed. I'm watching the moving averages. I'm also watching the VWAP line. So what I can do now, I can go back to my study and I can enable this 20 and the 50. So I'll put the 20 on. I'll put the 50 on just as a visual. And you can see a lot of times price reacts off the 20 and the 50. So this whole area here becomes an area of value. So every time we come up to it, we get rejected. We come up, we get rejected. We come up, we get rejected. So this is something that I watch. And you can see that here we came up between the 20 and the 50, dumped. We came up, we dumped. We broke through, and then we rolled over again. Came up here again, right? Struggled for a little while, went down a little, came back up to retest it because we bounced off the pivot point, and then we rolled over again. Now we're back into the 20 and 50 moving average. So a lot of times you can view this as an area of value here. So anytime we it's an area of interest. Anytime we come up, this is an area of interest to me that I'm watching, right? This is why I have this. And the colors don't really matter. I just use a purple for 50, blue for 20. So the colors really don't matter, but now that you can kind of see we're being rejected off the 20 and the 50. Okay? So we have our zones. We're going to open up and we'll see what happens. The prediction is we're probably going to chop around, but if we break through, I'm expecting a retest. So remember that previous support becomes resistance, and then we are going down to the next level. That's what I'm expecting. If we come up here, I'm expecting a reaction off of this level, probably back down here. If there's a lot of buyers, there's still going to be a reaction, but a much smaller one, and then we'll just rip. So that's kind of what I'm expecting to see. And I think what's going to happen for now, I think we are just probably going to chop around when we open for a little while. We're probably going to do this for a little while, and then we'll find our direction. Whether we're going up, then we'll have to see, are we kind of grinding up or are we grinding down? I hope that helps you to determine how to place these lines. And just a word of caution, these areas are not buy and sell signals. Those are areas of interest to see if buyers or sellers are dominating and are interested. So the whole time I'm watching the market, I'm saying to myself, who is in control, right? And you can see here, sellers were in control for the most part. We came down to the pivot point. We got a reaction, which is normal. If you remember, we had a zone here. We had our box right here in the beginning of the video. So now I just move it over. Every day I draw new lines to keep the chart clean. And so you can expect lots of reactions. We broke through and then we got rejected. We came down, bounced off the pivot point, came back up to retest it, didn't even make it to this area, and then rolled over again, bounced, and this time we bounced much lower, letting us know that there are a lot more sellers than buyers. And then we rolled over to S1 and then we closed. So I got my zones set. And if this is something you're interested in doing, just come up here to studies, put your pivot points in, and then you can just say show today only, because if you say no, then you're going to get them for every day all the way back in time. And all I'm interested for is just today. I got my zones, and we'll see what happens. All right, I hope this helps. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the thumbs up button, telling the YouTube algorithm that you enjoyed it, that there's quality content in this video so it can get recommended and help more people. And also, if you don't want to miss the next episodes, hit the sub button, hit the bell icon. YouTube no longer recommends every video just because you're subbed. So if you don't hit that bell icon, you're going to miss videos. So if you're enjoying this and you want to follow along, go ahead and hit the thumbs up, hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next video.